So today's topic will be on the dialog box. First, let's understand what is this dialog box, and then we'll proceed with the topics. Here, I have taken a lot of codes and few explanations and things like that. First, we'll understand what are this dialog box. Dialog box, nothing but a box which appears, the window which appears on the screen of Excel. Say Control 1, I'll get one dialog box here, like this. This is called as a dialog box. Any of the dialog box launcher, if I click here, I'll get one dialog box like this. In VBA, we can get few dialog box like this. So what are those? They are the message box, or say input box, or there are few dialog boxes like this. Say sometimes what will happen, I need to select some folder, or if you want to save some files, then I'll be opening some dialog box for save as, open the file, new file creation. So all these are actually dialog box. So you would have seen this message box or say input box, but when you go and check, there are so many hidden things in that which will help us in working on these message box or input box in a very advanced way. And also sometimes what will happen is I need to get the file names, I need to get the folder names. So there are something called as file system objects as well. So these things are actually very much important when you're actually working on the automations on various folders. So what will happen is the normal automations, we just take the path and we'll paste and then we'll start working on it. So what if I want to select the folder? What if I want to select the file and then work? Then there will be a lot of things which you'll have to work on and a lot of objects what you'll have to learn. So first we'll go with a very simple message box, which we've already learned in our first level of VBA. So I'll go here, say Alt F11. I will just insert a module. And if you want to just go here, say F4 mod underscore dialog. Say sub, say display message. Just say message box. This is a message box, a simple message box what we are trying to create, which we've learned in our first level of VBA. If I run this, I'll get one dialog box. This is a dialog box. But if you see, this dialog box has got so many things. The one is the cancel button, that is the close button. We have the prompt, this is called as prompt, where I give the message, then this is the heading, and this is the button. Not always I'll be needing of this kind of button, so I might need more other buttons as well. So sometimes I'll be using this for getting the results. Say if I say okay, something should happen. If I cancel, something should happen. So in that case, we have to give more parameters for this message box. So that I have made a complete list in this text file so that it will be easy for you to keep it for as a reference. Okay. Now fine. Now if you see this, let's give more parameters or say arguments to get more options in my message box. Let me just copy this, paste it, make it as arguments. If I give a comma, you can see the parameters coming here, the arguments coming here. It says prompt, and next it says buttons, and then it says title, help file, context, and then something else. Let's go here, we'll take this button. If you go and check here, there are so many different kind of buttons here. Now what we took by default was VB OK only. Now if you go here and check, here we have this VB OK only. Comma, it asks for title, we'll say dialog box. Let's execute this now. You can see that I'm getting the same kind of dialog box here. If you go here and check, if I run this, still I'm getting same kind of dialog box. Now let's change the parameter here. Let's change the button here. If you go back to this notepad, you can see I have mentioned all the different kind of buttons which we can use. It says BP OK only, or sometimes I want to say OK and cancel. Then suppose you can see that sometimes when I'm actually selecting something, we'll have this abort, retry and ignore. This will get when you give this validations. Abort means just ignore, just close it. Retry means again retrying it. Say ignore means just ignore this and accept the say values. So this will be getting in our validation. Suppose if I'm going here, if I'm giving this data and say data validation, and here if we give some validation, say whole number from 0 to 200 only. Now if I try to enter 300, say enter, you can see that, see, retry, cancel, something like this. So this is also a dialog box. So we are trying to create some dialog box like this here. Right, let's see few of them. I'll not try all of them because I just have to change this. But I've given all the codes here so that you guys can try on this completely. Okay, let's try this. Few buttons, we'll change the buttons and we'll see. Let me copy this and I'll paste it here. Here, instead of VP OK only, we'll say VP OK and say cancel. Now, if I execute this, test 2, see, now I'll get OK and cancel. So when are we using this OK and cancel list? Sometimes say, are you sure you want to close the file? Sometimes we get some message like this. If I go and click on this, say, if I say OK, yes, has to close. Say cancel means again we'll say cancel, something like this. We have some more buttons. Let's go here. Data entered is not valid. Now I'll say VB abort, retry and say ignore. Now if I execute this, see, say data entered is not valid. Abort means just close it. Means say don't accept it. Say retry means it will retry. Say ignore means it will ignore. Ignore the validation and take the data. And you can see that heading is changed to dialog box, and here I'm getting the prompt. So this is how I can actually slowly, change the button style as well. I have S no, cancel, retry. So anything you can change. These are the buttons, and I've given all the programs here. You can work on this. Fine. But when I'm using this, I go here. If I run any of these dialog box, that is message box, you can see it is just showing me the prompt. But here I saw in one of the cells, I forgot which cell we use the data validation. Let's see. I'll give one validation here. 100. Just let me share it so that I'll know that which cell. Now, if I enter 300 and say enter, you can see there is one icon coming here. So this says that it is critical. Okay. So if you want some icons also like this in my message box, then we can use something called as icons. So why I'm actually telling all these things is when you are creating a dashboard or when you're creating a template, when you're showing a message box, it should be very much impressive and very explanatory for the user when they see the dialog box itself. Now if you go to this and if you see, there are 4 different kind of icons. Critical. Now what we saw that red color X mark, that is critical. Question means I'll have a question mark. Suppose if you are asking a question, then I can use this question. Exclamation, that is like a warning message. Or information is just an information. So let's see how this works. Here, let's change this code itself. This one. Are you sure you want to close the file? That means it's a question. Now what I'll do, I'll go here. say icon. Here I have this VB OK cancel. Use this plus and say VB question. Just say plus and use this VB question, and if I execute this, see, I'll get that icon. So this icon gives more informative that okay, this is a question what it is asking. Right. Next one, suppose there is some critical say message. Let's take this itself. We'll take this as critical message and I'll make it as icon 2. Here I'll say plus VB critical. Now let's run this. See, you can see that here. So this actually makes us feel that okay, there is something critical. Information. Let's say I want to give some information. Go here, say icon plus information. VB information. Let me execute this. See, I'll get this information. If you want to give a warning message, let's take this itself. So instead of this thing here, we have this critical. We'll take the same message and we'll say warning message. Then I'll say exclamation. This. Run this. See, a warning message. So this actually helps us in making the user more informative by using this message box. So this dialog box, though it looks very simple, you should make it so informative that whenever I get a message, the user should feel that okay, there is some message like this. So by seeing that itself, they should understand. Okay, so it's not that more you have to make them read it. You should make them feel that okay, this is something you have to read instead of the text. By seeing that message box itself, they should understand. Right. So this is what we did, the combining of the icons and the thing. Next is about the return value. What is this return value? I'll tell you. When I'm having the message box, we clicked on buttons. So when I'm clicking on that button, what happened? It was just I click on that button and it was getting closed. The message box getting closed. But if I click on something, depending on what I've clicked, I should get the results. Say for example, let's go here. We'll take this. Say VB OK cancel. And we have this VB OK cancel. I'll take this code. This one, question. Now let's put that code here. Okay. Now let's say if I run this, it'll ask, are you sure you want to close the file? If I click on OK, something should happen. If I say cancel, something should happen. Here when I say OK or cancel, both it is just closing the message box. But I should use this message box for something where I need to perform some operation. Now what we'll do is here we'll take dim int as integer. Here we'll say int equals message box. Now we'll put this inside a bracket. Entire thing. Now what will happen is whatever button value I'm clicking, this will get stored here. So I'm clicking OK. That means the value will be this. That's why I given the value also here. So these are the values. If I say OK, it will be 1. If I say cancel, for every button there is a value. You can also use equals VB OK or VB cancel, VB no. That also you can use. No problem. Now here we have this OK and cancel. If you say this, the button says OK cancel. OK is 1, cancel is 2. Now here I'll say if int val equals 1, then else you want to check the value, I can say else if int val equals 2. then end. Here I have this int val. I'll say message box. You selected OK button. I'm just giving you something. If you want, you can use this for some operations, whatever. Go here. Say you selected cancel button. So here what will happen, whatever value is there, that will get stored here, and then depending on the value, it will give you the message. You can give any instructions here, anything you can give. Let me run this. Say, are you sure you want to close the file? I'll say OK. See, you selected OK button. Now if I say cancel, you selected cancel button. So if you want to do any function, say any instructions, if you want to give, if I say OK, then you can give the instructions inside this, so that when I click on OK, whatever instructions you give, that will be executed. Same thing. Now suppose if I'm using abort, retry, ignore. Let's go to this code. Here I have this. Let me select this. And here say value 2. Okay, here I have this abort, retry, ignore. So what is the value for that? It is 3, 4, and 5. Let's go here. Again, we have to give the value, and this one will be int equals message box. Now we can use the same thing. Say if int val equals 3, then else if int val equals 4, then else if int val equals 5, then like this. Now here I'll just mention, if you want I can give some instructions here. I'm just mentioning here. So you have selected abort button. If I say 4, then I'll say retry button and ignore button. If we run this, see, data entered is not valid. I'll say abort. Run. If I click on retry, it will execute that section. Say ignore, it will ignore. Hence, it will execute this step. So you can change this whichever format you want. I'm just giving you an example. The instructions you can give anything. The same applies to yes or no. So you can work on that as well. Yes or no. So this one, what it will do is it will give me the value, and depending on the value, I can use the dialog box for further executing some instructions. Fine. Let's go to the next one. We have a message. We are displaying some message here. So what is happening in this message? It is displaying in the same line. What if I want to display message in multiple lines? So what will happen? Some people actually try so many things, giving some enter marks and all, so you don't have to bother about that. That is a very simple thing what you can actually do. Here we have something called as carriage or carriage return or line feed, or if you are getting confused with these things, you can just mention VB new line. It will just give me the new line. Suppose if you want to give tab, you can use this tab. Right. Let's see how it actually works. Let's go here. Let's take something like this only, and I'll put it here. Okay. Say new. Okay. Here I mentioned data entered is not valid. Then here we'll mention VBCRLF, that is carriage return line feed. You have to mention ampersand. Put one and symbol to append the data. Then I'll go here. Data entered is not valid. please check the value. Put a double quote here. Done. Let's run this and see. See, it's coming in new line. If you're not giving this, then it will be in the same line. Same thing I can use VB new line as well, like this. If you're getting confused with this, both are same. So anything you can use. Run this, I'll get the same result. This is for new line. That is, I'm getting data in the new line. Suppose if you want to have a tab, that is, tab means space. Go here, say tab. Just say VB tab. That's it. Now if I execute this, see, I'll get a space here as tab. So likewise, I can use this message box for giving the information to the user by a dialog box. Right. Let's go to another dialog box. We call this as input box. See, in input box, there are two ways. One is input box, which is in VBA, the input box, which is in Excel. Now, what we are working on is the input box, which is available in VBA. What this input box will do is, it will accept the data from the user, and then after that, I can use it for any other, say, calculations or for instructions or anything. Input box is very similar to message box. Message box will just display the information. Input box will help us to collect the information. Right. Now if you go here, say I have this input box, I have a message and a title. Let's go here and work on this. We should take one variable to store the value which the user enters. Let's take one string and then we'll see the integer. Say sub to okay, a dim str name as string. Here I'll say str name equals input box, open the bracket. You can see the same prompt. Say enter the name, comma. It asks for the title. Say input box, close the bracket. Say enter. Now I'll say message box str name. So whatever I've entered here, will just display the value. Run this. See, I'll get the input box here. Okay, let me type something. Say okay. See, I'll get the message whatever I've displayed. So it can, you can give the instruction anything. So if you want to store that in the, say in my Excel sheet, then I can give some range dot value, and that will get stored here. Right. Next is, if you want to do the same thing for a number, go here and I'll give integer. I'll say enter number, and here just change this. Just changing the variable name. Nothing will happen. We could have used this, but let's use the proper name. Okay. Here I'm saying int num, and it's an integer. Now it will take the number. Let's run this. Now I'll take, say 2000. I'll say okay, this is fine, 2000. Let me run this and let me enter some text. Say okay. See, it will not take. The reason is it is a text what I've entered, but here I've taken this as an integer. But suppose if I go here, now if I take this as 2000, now this 2000 what I entered in the string, that will be considered as string itself. Now when I run this, any of this code in the input box, this is blank. But sometimes what will happen, people will go and say cancel. right? So you can give that. Say here we have that VB cancel or say OK and cancel number. You can give and say if someone has clicked on cancel, you can say the text is empty. The whatever the entries are empty. Please try to enter. So that also you can do it. Suppose if you want to have a default value, then what I can do? Go here. Default. It will say comma. It will ask for default value. Let's say this will be the default. That means if the user is not entering anything, then this should be default. Enter. See, this will be default. Now if I say okay, value whatever is there, that will be displayed. Suppose if I enter something, say okay. Right? Okay. This is for the input box. Now comes the input box for the Excel. Most of them actually are not aware of this, or most of them have not used this also. I'll just tell you why this is actually used. We use this mostly when we are trying to select the range and work on that. Say I have some range to be copied and pasted, only certain range, which I need to select and then do it. I cannot always go and keep on coding it. So if you want to select something, say I'm creating one chart. I want to create a chart for a selected area only. Then what I'll do, I'll go and I'll select manually. So instead of that, we can ask the program to allow us to select the data and then next proceed with that. So here I have few numbers which are given here, which is specified. If you want a formula or say number or text or whatever, okay. So using that, I can actually create, use this input box from Excel. So how to use this? I'll just explain. Same thing. It's very similar to our input box what we have here. But here I'll have one more option of selecting the data. Now here, let's say I'm using the same kind of code here, say input box, and here I'll give the title, and here I have to mention whether it is a text, a number, or whatever. Let's try this. Sub, say get info input box. Okay. Now here I'll say dim str string as string. I will take the text. So the parameter for text is 2. Let's go back. Say str string. Say str name only. Str name equals. Now you should not say input box. I should say application dot input box. Application is nothing but the Excel. Open bracket. I'll have the same parameter here. It will ask for the prompt. Say enter the comma. It asks for title. Say give something. Comma. It asks for a default value. You can give the default value if you want, or you can ignore this. Left is where I have to get the message box. L file. I'm just ignoring all this, and then here type. I'll say 2. Type is nothing but this one text. Now I'll say enter, say message box str name. Right? Let me run this. At last for the name, I'll just type the name. Say ATAS. Say okay. It will display. It is very similar to the input box what we had there. I'll show you where we'll have the difference. Now let's enter some number. It's displaying, right? Okay. Let me copy same thing. And here I'll say for number. Here I'll change this to 1. This for number. Let this be int now. Change this. And let me run this. Let's go here. Say numbers. Say 2000. Say okay. It is displaying the number. Now let's try to enter a text. See, number is not valid. So this will give me some warning message. But in the input box, if I had given, it was giving me some error, that is type mismatch. Okay. Now if I say cancel, it will show as false. You can give one if condition here saying that if I clicked on VB cancel, then what it should do. If I click on VB okay, what it should do. Right? Okay. Now the speciality of this is we can select a range. Let's go here. Type some random numbers. I have a range here. I want to select some part of it and then paste it somewhere. So in that case, let me copy this. Okay. Here, say select range. Here, we'll make it as 8. 8 is nothing but the cell reference, the range what we have to select. Here we'll say RNG data and we'll say range. This RNG data will be equals to whatever I have selected. Now here, when I say range, this is an object data type. We cannot directly go and take this. Say for example, I'll say RNG data dot, I want to print the address what I've selected. First we'll do the address and then we'll see how to copy and paste. If I run this, it will throw error. The reason is, see, I'll just select, say okay, it will throw error. The reason is this is an object data type. So we have to use set here like this. Now let me run this Excel. I'll just select some range. I'll say okay. You can see it is giving me the address. Now where all I can use, wherever I feel that the address is mentioned, or say we are using the address, then I'll be using this, say this parameter 8. Now let's go here, create one button. And I'll assign the macro to this button. Click assign macro. Assign macro. Okay. Now here, instead of this address, I'll just comment this. Say I want to copy and paste this in O1. Say sheet 1 dot range of O1 dot base special. That is here I need to paste it. So what we'll do, we'll take this RNG data dot com. So whatever range I have selected, that should get copied and pasted in O1 here. Okay. Now I click on this. Now it will ask for this selection. I can select the range here. Say okay. See, it will get pasted here. Let me delete this. Again, I'll say select only this part. Say okay. See. So you can use this range however you want. Say select this range. You can select the range. Say okay. Select. So likewise, I can use this input box, that is the Excel input box, and then we can use it for either text or number or for range as well. Same thing we cannot do in the VBA input box. Okay, this is another dialog box. Right. Let me save this. Okay. Next one is the data form. Data form actually not commonly used, but it is very useful actually. Most of them actually think that they don't know also whether it exists or not. But this is very useful when you want to quickly enter some data. What is that? Let's go here. Let me just take some data quickly. I'll just take some data from somewhere. Let me take this data. Just take the data here and I'll paste it here. Right? Okay. Let's close this. So I have a table here. I want to have a form, a user form. Automatically it has to generate. One way is I have to go and create the user form. But otherwise, if you want to create a user form quickly, so what I can do, let's go here. We have something called as show data form. Very quickly, I can use this data form. So what I'll do, go to this editor, sub show data form. Just mention the sheet, whichever sheet you're writing the code. Say sheet 1 dot show data form. That's it. Let's select the range anywhere. You don't have to select the entire range, just select anywhere here. I will assign this macro to this button and let me click on the see. I'll just select somewhere here. See, a form is automatically created. Now here, if you scroll down, you'll get all the fields like this. Like this. Now if I say next, see, it goes on like this. You can still format it and you can do a lot of things here. Okay. Now suppose if you want to check, say for example, I want data immediately, say criteria. Let me mention, say find next. See, the next one, whatever is there here. After that, my cursor was somewhere here. So go here, I'll get that. ಅದು ಒಂದು ಹೆಡ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. It's not properly. I just selected and just edit that. So you can check this. So here we have to create some table and then we can do it. Just showing you about the dialog box. I'm not considering about this data here. Just want to show you how the data form we can have that. Okay. So here we are learning about the dialog box. If you want, you can go format it very neatly and create a table and then you can arrange that. That will be still like very informative or something. But for me, I'm just trying to show you the say form here, how to open this form. So usually, some people won't use this. So quickly, if you want to have some forms, then you can use the data forms like this. Okay, fine. Let's save this. Next one is FileDialog. This FileDialog, what it will do is, it will help us in getting the file name or the folder name. This one is used to get the file name or the folder name. It will not open or save the files. It will just give me the file name or the folder name what we have selected. Say for example, I want to get the file name. Say I want to open some file. So for that I need to get the file name and we have to save it in the Excel sheet or anywhere. So here we have 4 different type of dialog box. One is FilePicker, FolderPicker, and Open or Save As. All this works very simple. Okay, very similar. Now here I have a data type called as FileDialog. Some people actually use this FileDialog data type. That is actually the correct way. Some people directly use application.FileDialog and they'll start working with it. Now how to use this, I'll tell you. It's a very simple. Let's go here. Say sub say file dialog, say folder. First we'll see the folder. We'll see the folder, then we'll come to file. Okay, the folder, if you go here, say dim fd as file dialog. Just give file dialog like this. Okay. Now here, if you want to give the path or something, you can give this thing. to give that path which you are selecting. Or what we'll do is we can take these selected, say whether it is selected or not. Suppose if it's not selected, then again it will throw error. So what I'll do, I'll take int as integer. Now here to get this file dialog, say fd equals application dot file dialog. We just open the bracket, I'll get all these 4 options. Now I'm taking this folder, just select this folder. Okay, and here we can just say message box. Here first we'll try to show this. So this will actually show. Let's go here. Just click on this. You can see I'll get a dialog box like this. Right? You can see that a dialog box. Now if I go here, I'll select, say I'll select any of the folders. Let's say I'll select this folder and say okay. I need to get that what folder I've selected. So for that we have message box and say ft dot selected items, and we have to mention the number here. The one is nothing but the first index. Now let me run this. Now let me select one of this and say okay. See, it will give me the folder name what we have selected. So you can specify, you can select, okay, that this is the folder I have selected. This is used when we use this automation. So if you have attended our automation class, in that what we'll do is we'll take the path and we'll paste it in one cell. So what if I want to take that say cell and say I want to have that say the folder name dynamic, then I can use this folder picker. Now let's go here. I'll click on cancel. See, it is throwing error. So to avoid that, what we can do is we can give this if condition, saying that if the items what I have selected is more than 1, because it will count the number of files whatever I have selected is more than 1 or equals to 1, then show me the name. Otherwise say folder is not selected. Let's go here. Same thing, I'll say if fd dot selected say items dot count. This will count how many folders or how many files you have selected equals 1. Greater than equals 1, then here I'll say else and if. Okay. If nothing is selected, we'll say message box no folder selected. Now let me run this. I'll say cancel. See, I'll get the message. Again, the message box, can you see that? It says no folder selected. You want this to be an information or critical or whatever, say VB and say OK only plus VB critical. Select photo. Understood. So we can utilize the message box options however we want. Say I'll go here. Let me say cancel. Now you see this is more informative than what we did previously. Say okay. Now if I select a folder, let me select this. See, if you want to save this in the in a cell, then what I can do, I can just specify that. Say sheet 1 dot range of, let's say M5 dot value is equal. That's it. Now let me run this. And now suppose if you go here, select a folder. See, I'll get the folder here. So otherwise I'll have to put this manually. Okay, fine. Same thing applies to file as well. The file picker. It is exactly like what we have. Same thing. I'll just go here, paste it. Here I'll just change this to file. Okay. Now here we'll change this to file picker. Right? That's it. So everything is same. Here only thing is we have to give the file. If I give folder, it will not show the files at all. It will just only show the folder. Now if you want file, I'll just give the file. Here we'll mention, as of now we'll just say message box, and then later on we'll save it here. P dot selected items, I'll say 1. Okay, let me run this. Did we change this? Yes. Okay. Now if you see, it will allow me to select the files also. Let's say if I go here, see, it will allow me to save the select the files. If it is folder, it will not allow. It will select only folder. Let me select this. Say okay. See, whatever I've selected here, it will show. Here I can have multiple, say, what is that, files also. I can select multiple files also. Let's go here. Select this. See, but it will display only one. The reason is I given only one. What if I want to show multiple files? Then what I can do? Let me copy this. If you want to show multiple files which are selected, say, then we'll have to put inside the loop. Okay, let me just delete this first. For INTI equals 1 to FT dot selected items dot count. So these many times it has to loop. Correct. Then I'll say message box FT dot selected items. Here I'll say INTI. Okay. Now what will happen? This will display all the files which you have selected. Let's go here. We select some random files and say okay. See this one like this. So if you want, you can put that in the cell as well by giving this say cell address. Let's say I'll just comment this, copy this. Here we'll mention sheet 1 dot range of, we'll take it from M10. M10 dot value equals. Here this 10 will remove. We'll make it INTI plus 9 so that this will become dynamic. Now I'm not displaying it, I'm just trying to save the files, save the file names here in the cell. Let's run this. I'll select the files whichever I need. Now if I say okay, see, all the file names will be right. So whichever file you want, you can get it like this. Similarly, I have this open file, say open and save as well. We can just try this here like this one. Dialog open and save. Then after that, we have something called as GetOpenFilename and GetSaveAsFilename. This is similar to what we saw this file dialog, but here slight differences. If you want to open a file, okay, now if I run this, what is happening is it is giving me all the files. You can see that I want to restrict only for Excel file or only text file or only macro file or Excel and macro file. So I can do that as well. So how to do that? For that, we'll use this GetOpenFilename. So what this will actually do is it will have some filters, the file filters, where it will filter and open only those files which are required. Okay, fine. Let's see that. So it is GetOpenFilename. Let's go here and say sub log get open file. Okay, then we'll take str file as string. First we'll say, go here, take this file name, str file, that is whatever file we opened, equals application dot get open file name, open bracket. It allows for file filter. File filter means what all files we are trying to filter. Here you should be a little careful. I'll just tell you what you should do it. This is a label, okay, comma, and it asks for the extension. Now don't put double quotes or anything, only once double quotes, star dot xlsx. Let's do only Excel filter now, comma, it asks for filter index, I'll say 1, and just close the bracket, no problem. Okay, now here message box str file. Let's run this. Now if you see this, can you see that it says Excel files? Previously it was all files. I can only see Excel files here. Let me select this file and say open. You can see that name. Here it will give me the name, it will not open the file. Now let's again run this. I'll go to any other file. See, I'm getting only Excel files. That means I'm trying to filter it. Let's go back. I want to add macro files as well for this. Comma, say you give anything, any name you can give, comma, star dot xlsm. I'm adding one more filter type here. Now let me run this. Now can you see that macro file? See, right? Okay, let's go here. I want to open all the files as well. Say all files, star dot star. Now let's run this. Excel file, macro files, all files. Right? Okay. Now, if you see here, I mentioned this one. One is nothing but which one I need to select in this filters, which filter I need to give the index. I'll say 3. By default, it will go to all files. If I make it 2, and if I run this, see, this will go to mac, that is second index. So whatever filter I'm doing, it will just specify. Same thing for save as well. So I put that here. You can see that save as, same options. Here also I'll have that filters. Okay, I can filter the data. So these are some of the dialog box which are available in Excel. That is the major. There are still so many dialog box which we might not have explored or we might not use it. But these dialog box, whatever we have seen, this is very much useful when you are trying to use, create your dashboards or making it more dynamic and things like that.